Hi, McCartney fans, and welcome to I can't believe I'm going to say this, the 100th episode of Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast. We are a Paul McCartney talk show mainly dealing with the solo career of Paul McCartney. I'm one of your two main co-hosts, but we've got a third ex-co-host with us today. So I'm Tom Hunyadi. You may know me from my other show, Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast. And with me, as always, is my new partner in crime, and he is the backward traveler, like I like to call him, and he is Andy Nicholes. Andy, what's going on?
Hey, I'm happy to be here to celebrate this 100th episode, and it's my 30th or 31st, which is
Something like that.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Right. Well, by the time this is posted, I think this will be like around your 32nd and 33rd episode.
Still, I know we're almost inside of a year since
it's
been on, which is crazy.
It is crazy, and I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, happy to be here, and thanks, man. It's 100 epiths. Congratulations to you guys.
Thank this guy down below for leaving. So,
dude, you did in 11 months like a third of the show that we did in 3 years. So, you guys aren't like, I'm out. Tom's like, screw you. I'm going to the moon to this, and so I'll take credit for 67% of this. So,
well deserved too, because you got it off the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tom, I was your foundation to be with your heroes.
Hold on, let me introduce you first.
Oh,
Jeez.
All right, cut it.
And
You're gonna have to edit
talking
it.
About ex-partners in crime, he is the man that helped me and us get this show off the ground. As Andy said, he was the man behind the curtain, I think he liked to say, because he would never want to do video. But then now here he is doing video for the second time. But coming back to celebrate the 100th anniversary is my old co-host.
Are we that old?
Yeah, something like that.
It felt like it.
My old co-host, my favorite. Well, I'm not going to say that.
I'm not your favorite anymore, Tom.
Hey,
you just say it as
exactly. But anyways, my cousin David Gargalino. David, what's going on, buddy?
Tom, Andy, how's it going? It's already going to be a good show. Yes, I'm the face behind the voice, or the voice behind the face. People, because of the comments, the last one, like, oh, that's who he was for 3 years. That boy. God, should hide behind a curtain again.
Right. Well, thanks for being
Oz,
here,
go
buddy.
behind that curtain again, Oz. Let's
go.
go.
You could have put a curtain up, actually. That would have been hilarious. Anyways, thanks for being here, buddy. Thanks for coming on and celebrating this occasion. That's I never would have thought that would happen when we first started this show. I thought we were just gonna, have some fun. I thought we were just going to, this would be a great way for us to bond, as we were doing before we started this show. Back in 2009 at my wedding. Yeah. That's where we got reacquainted, and since then, I mean, it's just been, day after day after day, nonstop texting or emailing or whatever. So, but thanks for being here. And anyways, we're gonna talk about one little thing, which I know is probably irritating to some people. Now, here's the thing: we're recording this on September 2nd. This probably won't get posted for a couple more weeks. But anyways, as of right now, on Amazon, the Flaming Pie box set is $176. Now, this is probably the best deal, unless you had, monies or coupons or, whatever to get a better deal than this. But this is the best deal out there that I've seen. And David, you chose to. Hold on. I mean, Andy and I, we got it from Amazon at the price of what, $249 or something like that.
Regular retail price.
Right, and then on I think the day of or day before, like hours before midnight or whatever, then we get it for what was it?
$215.
$215 or something.
Yeah, we got a rebate back of
so we got a little bit of a rebate back. Yeah, so it went over. It came down a bit. But this going down to 176 is, where it should have been all along. So, but David, tell us,
Well, that deal was so good, I bought it. Yeah. So I did, and I got it the next day. So that's So this story goes so far back, I'm in front of me. And
yeah, good.
Okay, so let's go back to June. It gets announced $256. Okay, that's kind of like MSR retail. Beyond MSR, that's just like, I think Walmart, Target, all those chains had that exact price, and after tax it was like $278. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to any concerts right now since March, so
right.
But I'm buying other music too, so I'm just not in the McCartney bubble. So I'm like, fine. So I pre-ordered it, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, screw it. I looked
But
at.
you pre-ordered it with Amazon, right?
Oh, back in June, yeah.
Okay.
So I canceled it, and I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just, I'm on the Hoffman forums, and everyone's like, try import CDs or Bull Moose or
so I think Bull Moose had it for $199.
Yeah, and so I still think I had the Amazon going for a while, up until like July 4th holiday.
Okay.
And then I'm hearing word that Import CDs has it for like, was it like $162 plus tax? And then You Discovered had it. They had like a deal up until the end of the month. It was like already 25% off plus a 20% coupon. So I was like, fine, I'll get. So I already had the Import CD bought. So I was like, I'll just eBay it. If I get both, I'll see. And I heard that they're so on the shipping, condition. It gets released on that Friday, and I knew I wasn't going to get it from You Discover, and I knew I wasn't going to get it from Imports right away. And so come Monday, I get the one from the Import.
And this CD. Is after the money after release day?
Yeah. Okay. So I got the CD Imports version, and it kind of had a ding on the corner. I'm like, I'm really anal about that. And so that one sold that first night I put on eBay. I think I
remember you.
Basically, I underballed Amazon, which was still better. It still was $20 more than I bought it from the CD Imports, and that sold off. And I think the 3LP set came later that week, the end of the week, which is fine. So I dove into that, thinking, okay, You Discover a couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks out from the release, nothing.
Right.
So I'm just like, I kind of want this deluxe box set. Every one of their mothers been doing a review, and it's like, right. I kind of want to just dive into it. And then I was on vacation, and I kind of surfed the web a little bit when I had the chance, and someone said, yeah, Amazon has it. And other people were filing issues and complaints to You Discover. And I filed it with PayPal because I paid through PayPal, and it's still in the process of being reviewed. They reviewed it, but they'll get back to me on like Sunday. We'll see. So Amazon had it for $176. I'm like, that's the price it always should have been. I get it. It's a little bit more than the other sets, but whatever. Instant purchase. It came like the next day too. Like,
well, you've got a plant right there, don't you?
A few, yeah. So, I mean, I was okay with a few days. So this damn box set from You Discover, supposedly in process from July 30th, is still not to me. So,
and there's no way to cancel it.
No, but I'm sending them. There's correspondence through my email. They're like, hey, contact UPS. Well, it never got there. So You Discover was good on the LP side because it came within like a week and a half of the release.
I had heard, even before that, I had heard a lot of horror stories from ordering from You Discover.
But my 71 to 73 set came from Ferndale, which is like 4 cities away from me, around the same time it got released. So they like the Ultra Deluxe apparently gets shipped from a different center. So I sold one set off, and I got the other one, and I'm waiting for either a refund from PayPal, and if the other one ships and I get it for free, so be it, whatever. If they cancel, cool, because I want it off my credit card. So yeah, that's
so do you think this would be I mean, you're going to continue ordering from You Discover?
No. No, not it. I mean, unless they give me like a sweet deal, or
that's the thing with ordering from stuff that's not Amazon or even Bull Moose. It's just like, I've ordered stuff from McCartney.com before, and they, they'll ship the stores on time. The stores will get it, but you, the independent individual, they'll ship those to you on the day of release. So you won't get, the chances of you getting anything from McCartney.com or You Discover on day of release is
I never expected that, but like a month and 4 days later. But the thing is, when you look at $161 compared to $275, money talks at that point, and you're like, I can wait. And in my waiting and shuffling around, I got the Amazon deal, which I should have just been patient for me. But the Amazon deal from 216 went back to 256 like a week and a half ago, and then it went down to 176 again. So I thought I was going to screw myself from again, just to buy it at the original price. So.
Right. So you just finally got the box set to open.
I got it Monday.
Right. So, and it's Wednesday today. So you really haven't had time to look into it.
No, I downloaded the high res stuff because I try to get that on DVD just before those links expire, just to have it for future.
Mm-hmm. This being the 100th anniversary, thought just scroll down memory lane a little bit. Talk about shows of Two Legs Past, and some of our experiences that we've had. I know David has had some fun editing experiences, and I've had some fun interview experiences. And
that might be my favorite moment. I was not a part of it. I woke up from it.
Yes. Anyways, we'll get to that in a second. But anyways, and I'm sure Andy will have a couple questions too about the start of it. But anyways, I remember back in 2012, I think you texted me, David, and you said, "Hey, you got to check out this show, this Beatles podcast called I don't think it was called Things We Said Today," and I think really pretty much that was the start of it for us, really, and the fact that it was, at the time, it was just Ken Michaels and Steve Marinucci.
Well, and I had followed Steve from like 2002 with the Abbey Road page.
Right. Yeah. So then, listening to them, I think it was episode 9, and they were talking about the Magical Mystery Tour and how, they were going back and forth and arguing about that. And I just thought this was going to be, I think, a cool show. So naturally, stuck with it. Proud to say that, Andy and I just guest spotted on there after, enjoying the show for many, many years.
I told you, Tom, you're going to be on this show one day.
Well,
and he's your peer now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you look up to him. He's accomplished over 38 years, but you're on a show with him consistently.
Yeah, which is kind of, mind-blowing in itself. And then, finding other shows, like something about the Beatles, and then Fab Four Free for All, and then, Ed Chen's earlier version of When They Was Fab, and then another one called I've Got a Beatles Podcast. So those were like the early podcasts that I was listening to and enjoying. Now, all those shows were fine, but the thing that all those shows had in common was they were more Beatles-centric, and then they would throw in solo stuff here and there, which was nice. And then now David and I at the time, I mean, we were big solo geeks at that time. I mean, yeah, we spent all of our early Beatle years just listening to Beatles nonstop, and then we gradually went towards the solo stuff, and that's where we were at that time back in 2012 and 13 and all that stuff. So we would always kind of go back and forth, or I would go back and forth with them about maybe starting something to present something solo, because there was nothing at the time that was dedicated just to solo. However, I did learn that Jude Kessler did have a John Lennon podcast, but again, that also dug into his Beatle years as well. So I just wanted to have something that was strictly solo related material. And, and I think we were even questioning whether, should we do John or whatnot, but it was just like, okay, at the time, you and I were just listening to a ton of Paul. It just made sense to do Paul because
his wide catalog of
exactly 50 years of consistent music, and whether it's his regular canon or his projects,
Fireman,
or
films.
yeah, films, you know, all of the orchestration stuff. So it just made sense to go with McCartney, which I had no problem with because, you know, I was just listening to McCartney nonstop. So, you know, after, you know, pushing that idea around with David for a while, I think I finally broke him. And I think this is what, 2016, so like 4 years.
Maybe even 15. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you had mentioned it, yeah, kind of maybe a couple years before I agreed or went with it.
Mm-hmm. And I knew, I mean, plus I think I knew that you were more on the technical side of things with the technology and, you know, knowing how to, you know, do that kind of stuff.
Somewhat,
so,
yeah.
You know, and but anyways, but there was so I would say things we said today was a big influence for me. And then now there's a Kiss podcast out there. If people know me, know I'm a huge Kiss fan as well. So there's a Kiss podcast out there called Three Sides of the Coin, which is a takeoff or on one of their songs called Two Sides of the Coin. So there's there's three hosts, so they just, you know, changed the two to a three.
Kind of an inverse of this show.
Exactly. There you go.
Well, like the naming, you might
right.
touch on the name. You had two names. It was Talk
right.
More Talk and Two Legs.
Right.
Which
and
you used both. You know, we end up, you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, and that's what, you know, before we went with the show, you know, I had called Ken Michaels, and, you know, he had talked about it, and he had said he had always thought that a great idea for a show would be called Talk More Talk. But, you know, I was all gung-ho over the name Two Legs because one is, you know, it's a takeoff on a song, you know, and then the two co-hosts, you know, so, but yeah, Talk More Talk, and then obviously, you know, a couple years later, that gets utilized anyways, so, but yeah, so those two shows, you know, Three Sides of the Coin, just because it was more of a, you know, a couple guys at the bar or a restaurant talking about their favorite band. And that's really what the kind of thing I wanted to, you know, bring to this show. Just a couple fans. And I do not consider myself, no matter how long I do the show, I will never consider myself an expert, you know, up to the point where, you know, Robert Rodriguez or Buskin or, you know, those guys or Lewison, because, you know, first and foremost, I'm a fan. And no matter how much I read about Paul or whatever, listen to Paul, it's because I'm a fan, you know, and it's because I want to learn more about, you know, his music and other things involving Paul. But that was the gist of it. I mean, it was just, you know, a couple guys talking about their favorite musician, and, you know, and luckily we were able to pull it off. And then so I think we basically spent about a month getting ready, maybe two. I don't remember. Do you remember how much time we spent?
I don't know how much time you spent. I mean, it didn't take long for me.
Yeah.
I gotta listen. I think we should one day sit down and listen to the first episode.
I will never listen to the first episode.
No,
because looking back at it now, I was in a hurry to do it. Because in the back of my mind, I'm going, somebody else is doing this right now.
You had an urgency.
Sure as shit, a month later, we find out that there's three other McCartney shows out there.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was All McCartney, which I don't think is going on anymore. I think there was a couple that was doing that show. Then there was, you know, the Take It Away guys, and they just did the albums. And then, you know, then there's our buddy Sam with All McCartney. No, was it Paul? I'm sorry, Paul or Nothing.
Paul or
yeah.
Nothing.
And then us, and it was all in a 4-month span. You know, and it's just funny how that turned out. You know, and then, you know, here we are 100 episodes later, which I just can't.
I mean, you'll be at 1,000 episodes by 2022. Maybe not if Andy has any saying it.
Anyways, we gotta get Andy you know, keep him at home, or school at home or something like that. I think at first the only place that we promoted the show really was, I think, on the McCartney.com fan board, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I was keeping like weekly update. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we did almost 30 episodes in the first season. So sorry about season 2 and 3. They were a little light.
What's a season anymore?
Oh, sorry. That's right. You guys go all year. It's like all year school. Tom, when you move to the East Coast, you're going to realize how much you need summers, because Arizona is always, the same old warmth. And so I looked at it from like a school semester to semester summer, and I needed that.
Right.
So,
right. So, moving forward, then, how much stuff did you need to prepare for your editing end, David?
Preparing?
Did you have to get any like tools or anything like that to?
Oh, the one thing that I did buy, because I already had the music DAW, the Logic through my Mac, and the newer computer I had at the time. The only thing I had to do was get the Skype recorder. Okay. And I think it was like a $29 one-time purchase. And it worked up until we tried to do that last episode last September, and I think I was out of energy, and so was the app. But that was it. So
what was that? About September of 2018?
Yeah,
19. Well, we try to do one more episode in September.
Your first interview, the Adrian Allen.
We did 3 hours of that show, and realizing the audio recorder, wasn't
September
working.
2019. That was when you said that's it.
Yeah. Well, I actually said I think I'm out. I think end of August.
Prior.
But I wanted. So my thing. I mean, you took the show beyond, and I'm happy, and I'm glad, because you had that foundation. You didn't want to start new again, and. But I wanted to help you, because you were thinking maybe I turned into a YouTube thing, and I was like, I was gonna help engineer you until you got off the ground, so to speak. But and then we tried to do that one episode, and it just didn't work out. And I'm like, all right, I think someone's trying to tell me something. And
well, I mean, that's the thing is, looking back at it now, I can see, you're being Paul, I can see now, how maybe, it could,
see her on the pub.
Editing, can be like a burnout, in a way.
You have to block time out. You just have to dedicate time to do it so it doesn't overtake your life,
Because I play music, I work. Right. I mean, we all have other things, and I work. I have a boss in the office, at home. I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but when you're married, we're all married. We have, stuff to do. But yeah, it's blocking off time. And Tom, I love sleeping. I'm like the John Lennon of the two legs. I just love sleep. And I did want the divorce and blah, blah, and it's all this now. But, no, I mean, editing, and I can't imagine video, because there's much, more rendering and all that. Me, I just basically dump. So the cool thing about the Skype audio is you'd have one file, and you would decompress it. You would split up you could split up the out, and the two different sides are two separate audio tracks. I line that up into, the program. Usually if Tom's internet connection was all right, we were good. If it wasn't, I'm literally there in real time, cutting, moving the track over, and, a couple times here and there is fine. But yeah, that one episode with Kid O'Toole, our first time with, she was our first interviewer.
Yeah, she was our first guest. Yeah.
It was like cutting in and out like every 10, like I literally had 200 edits, and yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is when we're recording the show, it doesn't look like, I mean, you don't hear any like stops or anything like that.
You're going to hear that all in the recording. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't really know yourself that
it's going to do that.
Exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
So while he's taking 2 weeks to edit that episode,
that was a brutal one, but
and I mean that was your probably, because up until that point it was just, it was you and I were talking about, we did that first episode on Pierre McCartney, which was fine, then we started getting into more, opinionated stuff. Like, our second and third show was more like our favorite songs, least favorite songs, and then favorite albums and least favorite albums. So, because we wanted to keep it, objective too. We wanted to show that, there was also stuff that we didn't like from Paul, there's just as much as stuff that we did love from Paul. So, we did that, and then we started digging into a couple albums. We talked about the tours because, like you said, you've seen Paul, 8 or 9 times now or something like that?
7 or 8.
7, yeah. So, we did a live show and stuff like that, talked about a few of the albums, and then I always saw us as kind of like an interview style show as well, and as well as, the one-on-one, which is a lot of fun. Just to make sure that the chemistry is still there between, the two. But yeah, I mean, having Kid O'Toole as the first guest was for me really nerve-wracking. And I just, I remember emailing Ken, hey, I know Kit, how is she? Is she easy to interview or whatnot? Ken was like, yeah, don't sweat it, she's a pro. Yeah. But before we hit the record button, Kid had gotten that Yellow Submarine logo set. So we spent like about 20 minutes, talking about that, and that kind of like, broke the ice and calm things down.
But so Tom, this is your formation of the relationships you've created, because I'm anti-Facebook and all that. So you were connecting with them in the past and developing those relationships that now you work with them. But and that was I think that's your strong point. And you were the go-getter, I was kind of like the engineer commentator. I saw myself as that, as a support. I know it was like a, kind of an equal kind of billing, but I was the guy that hit the record button, edit, throw my 2 cents in, but you did more of the research, the interviews, the setup. I think I set up maybe one interview and did some of that.
Yeah,
but
you did the A is for Apple. The A is for Apple, author, was it Alex Kornoff or something? Yeah, and that was great. Doing that interview, and we'll talk about other favorite, interviews in a second. But yeah, so that first, initial run, I think was like 13 episodes before we got to Kit.
Yeah.
I think that was important for us because it established, the chemistry. Excuse me. And I think it kind of prepared us for, interviews in the future, just because I think, we were used to, talking to each other, doing on this platform or whatever. But, in Skype, in a way, I think that was, was Zoom around?
No.
How long has Zoom been around?
It might have been around, but maybe, I don't think it was
right, it wasn't a big deal.
No, back then it was probably still Skype was the leading one.
Right. So then now we're learning how to use Skype, and then trying to learn how to, connect with 3-4 people at a time. And then, not being a technical person myself, trying to learn that kind of stuff. And then now, as I was getting good with Skype, then we made the switch over to Zoom, but which has been a big improvement, I think, personally.
Well, Tom, you wanted us to be a video thing, and I kind of pushed back, and I think I had video recording capabilities as well. I just am not a public person, and I mean, maybe a few beers in me, you'll get to know me better. But yeah, man, you were the face. Though I got to meet Kit before, I met her.
I did. Yeah, because you had the Sgt. Pepper
symposium in Ann Arbor.
Symposium, right.
So when we interviewed her the second time, I think in end of March or maybe April, she mentioned she was, what she was doing that summer or upcoming events, and she's like, "Oh yeah, for the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper at U of M Ann Arbor." I'm like, "That's like 40 miles from me." I'm like, so I logged on and I registered. Right. And got to meet her and Ken Scott and Anthony DeCurtis. And the funny thing is, you were saying, Tom, that you feel like you're still a fan, but now you work with these scholars, and so that symposium I thought was going to be more of a public thing. I found myself, I was in the center of that academic world.
Right.
And I'm like,
and I was looking at the back of your head for 3 days.
Oh yeah, because they had the live. I was like up
Right.
front, like the teacher's pet, and I was asking questions.
Fest, pretty much.
It was.
Yeah.
And people were asking, like, "Are you with the newspaper?" Because I'm asking Anthony Curtis certain questions, and Ken Scott, and people are like, "Are you with someone?" I'm like, "No, I'm just here for my 34th birthday." You know, because my birthday is on June 1st, and I was like perfect time for the Pepper celebration, and. Oh yeah, Kit was wonderful. Got to meet her, and then I met Ken Womack at the last day, and so I'm like, okay, I got to meet the people that are your peers now that you're working with. But it was the academic world. I'm like, yeah, it was quite the treat.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and that was very enjoyable. I think the only thing that didn't get what was on the virtual side of it was Ken Womack's George Martin, talk, because I think he was just starting doing the George Martin bio.
If you need any audio, I think I recorded 16 gigabytes of.
You sent it to me.
So I have to ask Kit if she liked her, her presentation.
So when I started asking you about having guests on or whatever, were you fine with that and stuff?
Like authors and such?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, I felt like the format was getting, and there's no dig. It's just like, this is how I felt. Just like, I was still the commentary supporter, and it's like, fuck, like I don't read a lot, and I have tons of books, and that was your thing, and no, I enjoy it because you get to hear the human side of the author behind the name, so I like that. But after, I'm not saying after a while, I moved on for my own reasons of just like, I love doing stuff like this, but on a regular basis, I have other things I want to tackle, and we couldn't, the world is crazy. Who knows? I might be a regular full timer in 5 years from now. You know what I mean? But, but
right.
As cousins, yeah, I'll bust your balls anytime on any show. So, and you're gonna give me a bad name because people are like, I'm glad you got rid of that asshole. Because so what game we're playing later today is not gonna get me bonus points in someone's world that likes certain things. So, but I think that's the name of the game that you wanted to play.
Right.
But,
yeah, that's the thing, is because having so many books, and gradually reading them, because I had a system because I'm a big Stephen King fan, so I had a system where I would read a Beatle book and then a Stephen King book, Beatle book, Stephen King book, and then back and forth. And then one of the things Ken Nicholes told me back before we started, he goes, once you get started with this, it will not end. It never ends.
I mean, I don't read that often, even though I buy books. I still haven't finished like the first 3 chapters of Tune In, the deluxe edition. And I bought it from the UK in 2014 before they had it here, like in 2018. And I'll tell you, that book is detailed, but I didn't necessarily need to know about the great grandfather McCartney and Lennon. I mean,
I like
that first. I love that. Yeah,
I like all that.
It's the historic is there. But I'm looking, obviously, one day to the volume 2 to get deeper, kind of like the George Martin stuff. Like, I enjoy his early years, but I want, the meat of 66 to 2016 is my go-to. But
yeah. So, I mean, definitely. So going back to the author thing, having all these books, for me, it was more or less, okay, this might light a fire, to get me to read, more of these books, which it did. I was finding myself, digging into more of the McCartney books that I had at the time. Once we knew that we were going to interview people like Jerry Hammack, who had the, Beatles reference book, which I ended up becoming really good friends with him. And that, that was cool.
And we got credits, thank you credits on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was,
because your uncle said, I'm not sure if you bought a couple copies. He's like, here, I got this book. Sorry, I didn't buy the book, but so he gave it him. I'm reading. I'm like, wait, we're like the last 2 thank yous. I'm like, I've never been into like something I didn't pay for. I'm in a book,
Right. So that was cool. I had no idea that was going to happen. And then so he put us in on the thank yous, and I thought that was really cool. And you know, like I said, I got to know him. I got to hang out with him on a couple occasions, and you know, he's a great guy. You know, so and then people like Jeff Cummins, who was the illustrator.
You know, looking at it as a kid,
I could always tell when you were excited about an episode because you had it posted quick.
God damn, Dave, I've been waiting like a whole week. Yeah, no, like because the picture that I always looked at as a kid at my dad's record collection, I think every kid did, was like, the hell's McCartney sitting down with an ovation when everyone's rocking out on their guitar, and nowhere did that actually happen. It's a composite kind of situation, and
the inner sleeve of the Wings Over America.
The fact that we got like the direct source background, you know, and then the Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson superimposition on whatever 45 single, you know.
Yeah, so he did the Temporary Secretary, he did this one. He did the inner sleeve for Wings Over America, and he did Say, Say, Say as well, I believe.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be Stevie Wonder, and he put Michael Jackson's face over that. And I was like, that is incredible.
So, yeah, the stories he told were fantastic. And then, you know, even more after the interview, you know, was really cool. So, you know, we got to learn a lot from him.
Got a question, Tom. Do you feel like maybe you guys could re-interview these people and almost do it better, or with now your experiences and practice, you can almost get maybe a deeper extended cut?
Maybe, but I mean, we've experienced it already. I mean, if there was nothing new, I mean, if Jeff Cummins didn't do a new, you know, McCartney illustration for 45 or an album, you know, I really don't see the point in going back, you know, to that, except for just maybe to have, you know, so Andy could experience that, because that'd be cool for Andy because to experience that as well, you know, get him, you know, that, but
you guys are doing something with the whole world going on right now, the way it is. People need an outlet. Stay at concerts. They're probably doing the video podcast, and so I value it for you guys more than I gave myself credit, because, you know, I didn't take it as serious as you may have, and I didn't feel I was pulling my weight, so I think I backed out of the game. So you've created and continue something with Andy that is going to go on hopefully for years. And then I only wish you guys were getting like paid and, and sponsorship, you
trust
know.
Me, I mean, that's in the back of my mind, you know, stuff like that, you know, and I'll talk more about what my hopes are for the future, you know, in a little bit. But, you know, going back, you know, I remember I finally picked up, I always knew of the McCartney interview. Okay. And I knew you knew it as well. I finally bought it. And this is
you just bought it?
Prior to us.
Oh, okay. All right.
Getting the ball rolling with Vic Gargalino. So, you know, this interview was a great interview. It's right up there, I think, with the Chris Celovich.
The official interview.
Yeah, the official interview that he did for
you got to set it up for Andy.
Yeah,
to have his balls up too.
So here we are. You know, I'm going, okay, let's see if we can get Vic Gargalino, because here's a guy that actually sat down with McCartney, MPL, conducted this interview. You know, he got a tour. I mean, he got a tour at MPL. He went down to the basement and got to see the exact Abbey Road studio replica that he had, you know, working studio that he had in the basement. You know, so I'm going, okay, great. We're going to get somebody. He agreed. I'm just like, you know, shitting myself because we got somebody that actually was involved with McCartney. And he agrees to come on, but he doesn't agree to come on Skype.
No, there's a legal ramification.
That's right. And I forgot all about that. He wanted to do all that, but it ended up not happening. It's like, okay, I want to send you a legal document.
Legal, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to send a legal document saying that
we weren't going to release on vinyl or something, or something.
Right. We weren't going to, get paid for this interview or whatnot.
Oh, he made sure that you couldn't make this commercial, dude. Set it up.
So he doesn't want to come on Skype because his internet connection is not great. So like, fine, okay. So I go to David. I say, look, man, we'll just do.
I was already being pushed out of two legs back in.
Oh, shut up. Anyway, so we come up with the time. I call him up. I think it's 8 o'clock my time. Yeah, yes, maybe 6 o'clock my time.
And it was like 8 o'clock my time.
8 o'clock his time, because it was a 2-hour difference at the time. So the first 20 minutes is just like, hey, how you doing? This, that, Joni Mitchell, this, and I saw this person then. So it's all over the map, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope this isn't how this interview is going to turn out. So finally start getting to talk about the interview. So he talks about, I asked him about, becoming a journalist and all that stuff. And then we get into interviewing McCartney. So the setup is nice. What you hear on that part 1 of the McCartney interview episode with Vic Gargalino is pretty much intact. So I don't think you had a lot of editing to do on that one. So once we get into the second hour, well, first of all, that first episode is the first 2 hours of the conversation because the call dropped twice.
Talk about a brutal editing job. I mean, at least with the Kid O'Toole, it was consistently on, like, it was just happening with logistical, like, questions and answers. Yeah, it was all over the place. So anyway, but that's just the first 2 hours.
Right. So they call him back. Now,
and you're recording through your phone. You have an app.
I'm recording on my phone. I downloaded a phone app to record the conversation. So call him back. Okay, he's like, sorry. So there's another 20-minute conversation, and then I'll go, okay, so getting back to this. So for that, so I'm on the phone with him again now for 4 hours.
Andy, that's not over. It's not. This is part 2 of.
So now I'm on the phone with him for 4 hours. So here now, he'll talk 5 minutes about, we'll talk about his whole experience interviewing McCartney, and then out of left field, he just goes into a completely different topic.
I think he thought you were his shrink.
Something like that. But however, it was nonstop. And so this is why we haven't gotten a part 2 yet of that interview, because that's
3 years later.
That 4-hour segment is just all over the map. It would take.
Andy, you want to edit that?
No. No, I don't.
It would probably take a month to make somewhat of a
cohesive kind of.
It was just all over. It was just all over the place.
It was all over the place. I could not.
How much longer were we on the
conversation back?
What's that?
You couldn't steer the conversation back to the top.
I was trying. I had learned so much during this amount of time, which I'll get to in a second. So 4 hours go by, phone call drops again. Call him back. When I call him again, it's 4 a.m. my time. No, I'm sorry. 2 a.m. my time. Okay.
It's 4 a.m. my time.
Yeah.
And where's he?
He's in New York. I think he's upstate. I think it's
okay,
upstate New York.
So it's like 7 a.m.
Yeah, right. So call again. He goes, I go, okay, listen, it's getting late. He goes, no, I think I can keep going. I'm like, okay, great, let's keep going. So another 2 hours. Now, I don't think I get off the phone with him until like 5 o'clock my time.
I'm already at work. I was hanging out at my house having dinner when you started, and then I think I was at work. I'm like, so how did the interview go? I just finished interviewing him. I'm like, yeah, I know, last night. No, like an hour ago. I'm like, are you freaking shitting me? Like, I don't think I've ever talked to a girlfriend that long, or my wife that long continuously. We would like now I would fall asleep.
Right. But. So then we're continuing the interview. So then now we're at the aftermath. We're talking about the interview's done. It gets nominated for a Grammy, all this and stuff. Like, so it's the last 2.5 hours of the call is only like an hour's worth of it is actual
real stuff
that I could use. Exactly. So going back, I could only listen. Going back, I've tried to listen to the part 2, the 4-hour segment. I've tried to listen to that on 4 different occasions, and after 20 minutes, I can't.
So were you on the phone with him for like 8 hours?
Yes, 8 hours. I was on the phone with Vic Gargalino.
You know what? You know what? Challenge accepted. Send that freaking file. I'll do it.
Oh my God.
So,
I'll do it.
So,
wow.
And then before we hang up, he's like, "Oh my God, thank you." I felt like McCartney did. I just started blurbing because this was actually.
Hey, I would get bored of McCartney talking to me for 8 hours. After a while, you're like, okay, I've heard.
Right. Because he had told me like this is like the first time he's actually gone
talked with someone since
depth.
McCartney.
Yeah, gone. He's never really been interviewed about this interview. So I think he was more or less excited to talk about it.
Nobody had contacted him to talk about this?
He's done small little 5-minute clips about it. Okay. And I was trying to get more in depth about the whole experience.
And let's face facts here: even the average Beatle fan has no clue who the hell Vic Gargalino is. So, like,
True, but the big deal about it is that this was like the first interview where he started talking about the Beatles again.
I get that, but I'm saying like with all Vic stuff with the legal and I'm not going to do this. Like, who are you?
I know.
Nobody knows.
Well, right. Tom, maybe we'll get into the next guy who's more controversial. Actually, we turned him down.
Right.
So.
I think I know who this is.
Yeah, because so now fast forward another year or 2 later.
Yeah.
This guy's a clown.
Yeah.
So I'm posting a recent episode on one of the Paul McCartney Facebook pages. Okay, and I think it's a late night. I think you had posted the episode late or something like that, and then so now I'm posting it.
Well, because it was always like 12:30 in my morning, but like 9 o'clock your time.
Right, exactly. So I think you would always like would post it and then go to bed or something like that. Yeah. So out of the blue, I get a ding on the phone, and it's a green dot, and so I know it's an instant messenger notification. Look at it, and I see the name Jeffrey Giuliano. And
swipe, delete.
Yeah. So I'm going, I know this name. So I open it up, I read it, and I said, and he's got this paragraph. He says, you're the perfect vehicle for me to come back out, and so I can clear the air about my books in the past and all that stuff. And I can't believe what I'm seeing myself. And so right out of the blue, so I go, okay, let me get with my my co-host, and we'll talk about.
I thought you said, let me get with my people.
Yeah, let me get with my people.
Yeah, let me get with my person.
Right, and I'll get back to you.
Okay. That's a political way to say.
Exactly. And it was late at night too. I mean, so.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I almost was like, let's do it just for the fact that this guy is a high-profile.
Which I can understand clown. That too.
But then we thought about the implications of our show getting blacklisted, or kind of like they're really trying to go for salacious BS.
Yeah. Right. And then on top of that, I thought, okay, this could be the Vic Gargalino interview all over again. So I was hesitant. I still hadn't turned him down at that point. And hold on one second. So I reached out to Ken and Kit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and just for a little advice, because obviously they've been, this isn't their first rodeo or whatever. So I asked them what their thoughts were. And they were said, you know what, skip it. So, I took their advice to heart, and I got back with Giuliano, and I said, look, I'm going to say no. However, I know that there's another Paul McCartney podcast out there, and maybe he'll be interested in talking with you. So
you could have just not answered him either.
True, but I wanted to, just me. I like to.
I know, but still, I mean,
right. So I'm like, okay, there's another guy out there. So I got a hold of Sam, and I told him, hey, look, there's Jeffrey Giuliano contacted me. I don't think we're gonna take the interview. Do you want it? So, after that, I just.
I know Sam's a little bit younger than all of us, but I remember Giuliano. I remember he had some interview CDs, and the guy's face kind of creeped me out back in the 90s. Like, just like I'm at my favorite record store in Detroit, and I'm just like, ooh, who is this? And I never dove into buying those CDs, and maybe I shouldn't have. But then searching the interwebs, kind of his inflated, stories of Harrison, kind of divulging more than it really was, and Olivia's like, this guy's just not. He thinks he knows us, and he's kind of getting creepy, and yeah.
So I did buy his book, the McCartney book. I'll eventually get around to reading it because I just want to. I'm curious.
You fact checking it?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I know it's total BS. Just from what I've read and what I've heard. So now, I just want to go back and read it and experience it myself. And I will eventually, but it's not on my, must-do list right now. So that being said, I'll maybe when I retire.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really interesting. That's when I kind of felt like, okay, we're getting somewhere, when people are contacting us,
sure,
and they want to come on the show, and whether it's a controversial person or not. So
as you guys have demonstrated, it takes a lot of effort and coordination to put something like this together, and time, and as you guys have said, there's not that many shows that have tackled this content. So
right,
it's credit to you guys to have to think about, hey, let's do something different. And stick with it,
right?
Because there's, you rattle off. There's a handful of just dedicated McCartney podcasts.
Well, you guys are crazy, man. Like, you guys are literally. I know with the pandemic, you guys doing like one show a week, and that's what we were sort of going to do in the first season. I think that's what we had 26, 28 episodes. Because it wasn't going to be it could have been like a news thing where it was going to be like 30-minute stuff.
Right. Updates,
but then
whatever.
Yeah, then that could run thin every week. Are you just doing that every week just to be on every week? But you guys are having legit interviews and content. And
when you said like season, how did you define a season? Like back then?
Probably September to probably September to June.
Like TV, like the old TV season.
Yeah. That's why
I looked at it as like a schooling, a semester or a whole year. Go September, May or June.
Right.
And me, I kind of needed that break from the summer. And the second, in between the first and second season, we did an episode in the summer for the next season. So the thing was, I wanted to take a little bit of a leisure break and maybe incur more episodes pre-recorded. But we did the give my regards to Broad Street Mystery Science 3000 edition.
Right.
That's one of my favorite ones. I listened to that episode, I think, twice.
I have not even listened to it at all.
Other interviews that I really enjoyed, knowing Richard Buskin, knowing how he is he's not a huge McCartney solo fan, having him on, that was really fun, getting his point of view, and then him getting our point of view on stuff. So that was fun. Cozen's great. I mean, he's the perfect person to come on and talk about his, classical side, just because he was a writer in the classical department for the New York Times. So we're going to continue that series. Rodriguez was fun having him on, talking about cold cuts, and thinking about trying to have him come back on for a part 2, so we can actually talk about the songs that were ventured for or suggested for the cold cuts and stuff like that. So But yeah, I mean, the interviews I've always found enlightening. I don't really recall one that I didn't really care for too much, but then, you know, not all of them were as it was colorful and or as animated as like maybe a Buskin was, or you know, Jeff Cummings was, you know. So
well, I thought we made it when we're interviewing people across the pond, you know, and we're coordinating like 7-hour time changes,
right?
And you're like, wow, we're not, you know, I kind of look at my world as like I'm just a Wayne's World. I'm in my basement doing a radio show with my cousin, but you know, from the outside perspective, you're like, wow, people, you know, we're bringing on high profile people.
Right. Yeah, you know, Luca Perazzi was funny interviewing.
Yeah.
You know, he was in Italy. You know what? The A is for Apple. Was it Alex? Yeah, he was in Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, I think maybe. And then, you know, obviously a bunch of people in the UK. So, you know, it was cool to get interview people from all over the world, and it's really cool to see people all over the world listening to the show. And I you know, I think
you used to give me the stats, like,
yeah, it's just like, okay, somebody from Turkey just listened to the show, or Saudi Arabia, you know, and it's just like, you know, it's really mind-blowing, you know, to see people from all over the world, you know, listening to the show, you know. So it's a really cool thing.
Up until this past year, you know, we've only been on Podbean, you know, and we had our struggles with you know, iTunes and the logo size resolution bullshit, and listen, fine, we're just gonna upload it.
Please, like that.
I was like, yeah.
But that was really cool. So David, when our first episode, David didn't get Pierre McCartney, and he wasn't going to get Pierre McCartney, but you know, a fan bought it for him, which was really cool. And then you know, I've had, you know, fans and stuff send me bootlegs and stuff like that. So, you know, reaching out and communicating with the people that appreciated the show has been one of the biggest highlights for me doing the show, and I'll thank them, you know, towards the end of the show. Well, but so okay, well, go ahead.
These podcasts are kind of making those forums archaic. You know, these podcasts, you kind of interact with your, you know, like through Talk More Talk, the real live Facebook, you know, commentary. So it's really like everyone's together on this rather than just a forum,
which is cool. Right.
Yeah. So David then decides to leave, and you know, I was like, you know, 99% sure, okay, I'm gonna do something different, and I was going to, you know, like David said, you know, I was gonna get on YouTube, I was gonna have a channel, and I was gonna, you know, do author interviews, and that's all I wanted to do, because I have all of these books, like I said, a lot of them that I haven't read yet, but I wanted to start reading them, and then just interviewing a bunch of authors, you know, having them on and talking about, you know, their journey, their story about the book and whatnot. So that's where I really wanted to go. But then in the back of my head, back in my mind, I'm going, you know what, there's a guy out there who did one episode of a show, and I listened to it, and it was really good. You know, obviously, you know, he's doing it himself, so he knows how the technical end of it, you know, and he's articulate, and you know, and so I'm like back in my mind, and I go, and I know he's a writer because he wrote a really cool, you know, Paul McCartney piece, and I think this guy would be pretty good. So out of the blue, one day I'm at work, and I told him about, look, I got to message somebody real quick. And, you know, messaged Andy, and then within minutes, I think you messaged me back and said, hell yeah, you know. And I was actually kind of surprised, because I didn't know how you know, serious or involved you were with your Backwards Traveler show.
Well, I was just really testing the waters with it. I wanted to get into it and wanted to start doing it, you know, and because people had always been said, you know, listen, you moved to Liverpool for 2 years, you know, this is like what you're going to do, you know, so when are you going to do your own thing? And finally I got to a point in my life where I was like, okay, I can devote the time to do this, so I'm going to start doing it. So I just kind of came up with it one day and did it, you know, and you saw it, and I know I really haven't gone back to it, but I've channeled all that energy into Two Legs, and I think you're seeing the fruits of that relationship and collaboration with me and Tom now. And I think people are like, wow, just, you know, well, you ever going to go back to Backwoods Traveler? I'm like, well, no, because I enjoy the two legs.
Right.
I enjoy what this was then and what it's now,
Right.
because it's just grown in the year that it's been. So, I can't thank you enough for reaching out to me, because the timing was just, it worked out. I was entering to that, I was coming to that world of the people on, in our circle there on Facebook with the podcasting and following the same pages and the groups and all that stuff.
Right.
So you saw that, which was, thank you for seeing that and listening to it and saying, oh, I'll give this guy a shot and see how it goes,
Right. Yeah, I'm glad I did, because like I said, I mean, I was, close to doing something else, and I really wanted to continue this and then hopefully, make it what it is now, like a video podcast and all that.
And you had
stuff.
said that. You said, oh, I'm really just looking for some help on the tech end.
Yeah.
Because my cousin David my co-host used to do all that stuff, and I'm like, hey, you've got the right guy.
So yeah, and so thank you for that. I mean, having you on has been, a great shot in the arm. It's making me take this even more seriously than what I was, in the sense of being prepared. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So I want, it's important to get your facts straight. It's important to, be prepared that way, because people are going to let you know when you screw up. Well, I mean, we've had people text, email us and say, hey,
look, sure, you said this wrong, or you wrote this
exactly.
wrong, whatever.
Tom, remember the mail we used to get?
Yeah.
Back in like 2017, we had a guy that just did not like us, and I'm like,
no,
it's fine.
First hate mail.
Yeah,
I mean, really?
Yeah, it's fine. It's, the show's not for everybody, and I get that.
And I really think, I mean, to do something on your own, you probably could have done it and handled it, but it's a lot it of work to do something on your own. Ask Ken, he juggles.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I felt with Backwoods Traveler. It's like, it took a lot of work to put that together. And when there's two people to handle it, you can, some person's handling booking and guest and promotion, and the other person can handle tech stuff. It just makes things so much more easier.
Right.
So
and then you build all these friendships, and then you meet people, and then I was able to meet Dylan Seavey, who has become a really good friend, and somebody that I respect, and I'm glad is a friend. And he's a musician, and since David was leaving, I thought, okay, well, it'd be cool if we can get some new music now. And, how do I do that? And then, so approaching Dylan and asking him if he could do a couple things, and he jumped right into it. I gave him a couple ideas, and he threw back a couple things, and, and I really, have to say thank you to him and compliment him on the work that he did. On those songs that he did, and thank you. I mean, I can't thank you enough, Dylan. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, and glad you're a friend. And every time that you've been on, it's been great, and hopefully that we'll definitely have you on again and more in the future. So
I'm trying to remember, like when the first couple of years ago, did you have somebody else doing music at the beginning?
No, that was David's creation. He talk about the theme.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, so like my idea was kind of a mashup of sorts, and it was borrowing some from other mashups, but I wanted a kind of like a theme. You hear it in season 2, and you hear it in 2 and 3 where we kind of and 1 too, with like I'll splice Paul like saying 2 legs and adding echo and reverb and all of that. But I don't have the studio programming to pull like the individual tracks from a song, and that became pricey. So I scoped out just drumming isolation tracks from YouTube and turned that into an MP3 and added into my music program and try to like layer this different kind of beat, and it probably sounds amateurish compared to what Dylan has done, and I am a musician, but I just couldn't pull into that McCartney-esque derivativeness on.
But in a way, it was really creative too, because you take for the season 1 theme, you took a piece from what it was the Liverpool Sound Collage.
Sound Collage, yeah.
And then you took
parts of Doon, and then and
parts of Ooh You in there, because it was the constant guitar lick throughout.
It did its thing then, but now I mean it's I like the intro and outro music now, and I don't know if he's gonna modify that for going every year, or just keep that. That's very
well. I think I was wondering, maybe we could get up another in a year or two, change it up or something, get different themes. I mean, if he's willing to do that for us, that would be great.
But then going on producing something, it's these T-shirts. So like the first season, we never had a logo, and I think you just put like a stock photo on Podbean and Facebook, and I was at the U of M symposium the day before. No one from work's listening to this right now, but I created this old school typewriter, kind of like McCartney 2-esque, or just typed out 2 legs in our name, and I laminated, and I made a bunch of these like laminated stupid cards, and I handed them out to some people. I don't know if they even kept them. I handed the Kid O'Toole and Anthony Curtis. It was felt like 1987 or something. I'm creating like posters that stick on a telephone pole. But
so moving forward, we've been able to have all these authors and DJs and people that have interviewed McCartney, and then moving forward, I think coming in the coming months, I really want to try to start getting musicians that have worked with McCartney, and I have been in contact with an artist named Lindsay Pagano, who did the great So Bad cover back in, I think, early 2000s, when Paul was doing Driving Rain, I think it was. And so Paul came in and did some backing vocals on that. So we have been in contact with her, and now just ball's in her court. She knows she's agreed to come on, so now we're just trying to come up with the date. So hopefully that's a start of like I said, having more musicians on now that have worked with Paul, and that's really what my goal is in the future, is to get those kind of people on. And I know it's going to be a little tougher to reach out to those people, but that's the goal.
Well, I was this close to mention it to Denny Lane when I met him last year, but I was just like, I'm just some bum fan. Like, with the podcast, I just felt like
the groundwork is there. We talked to Dan, and Dan met, knows Jeff and Denny. So the groundwork is there for that to get to that point, to get musicians on here at some point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Cool. So, okay, that's memory lane. Okay, let's move into a little game here. I know we did remove 3, add 3. So now we're off to a new game called Skip or Play.
Skip it or play it with.
Yeah, skip it or play it. We're going to take press to play, and we're going to talk about whether or not we're going to skip or play the track.
We picked it because it was one of the more,
it's more controversial albums out there. The ones that, people either love it or hate it. There's usually some people that are right in the middle that either love half of it.
Don't even know about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the McCartney diehards, even the casual McCartney fan will probably know press to play. Not as well as us, maybe not as well as us, but anyways, we're gonna do a skip or play right now. So, and then if this goes well, maybe we'll continue this one in the future. Future shows, but we're gonna just do the regular the CD version. Now the album was just the 10 tracks all the way to However Absurd. Now the CD version had the 3 B-sides, Right Away, It's Not True, and Tough on a Tightrope. So we're gonna add those and call it a day. I know the 93 version also has Spies Like Us and Once Upon a Long Ago, but we're gonna cancel that, so we'll just do the 13 tracks.
Yeah.
So let's start. Okay, so track 1, Stranglehold. David, skip or play?
It's a fun song.
All right, so you're playing it.
Yeah.
Okay, good call. All right, I saying I'm playing it. I am a big 80s sax fan. During the 80s, there was many a great sax solo and many a great 80s classic songs. However, I don't always like the ones Paul has, but this one I do enjoy. So I play Stranglehold. Andy,
playing it, hands down, playing it. Yeah, it's not the strongest album opener that he's had in his own, but it's good. You know, I've had the album for 30 years. I've never skipped it, so that's not a skip for me. Stranglehold to play.
Very, very good. Second track, Good Times Coming, Feel the Sun. For me, one of the best songs on the album. I always play this one. I was glad to see this one on Pure McCartney. I'm glad to see, he had a couple tracks to represent Press to Play.
Yeah.
Andy,
this falls into the category of used to skip it, but no longer do.
Gotcha.
It was a song, again, it took a while, probably really until its appearance on Pure McCartney, where I was like, you know what? Because it's on that, I like that now. So I really like how it's broken into two songs, and it's slow. It goes into one thing and it goes.
Good times coming.
Right. Yeah. Feel the sun shining. That's good. Yeah. I like it. That is a play song. So 2 for 2 for me.
Gotcha, David.
It's upbeat. It's just his vocal at the beginning. I don't know. It's just I need more time with it. Like I'll tell you, I like when it goes into the Feel the Sun part.
Mm-hmm. So do you play it to get to that part?
I'll be honest, I don't really play this so much, so it's just
you're skipping it.
Yeah.
All right.
Just the vocal kind of just not grabbing me.
It's a little bit of a scratch screaming vocal there at the opening. It is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Track 3, Talk More Talk. This is my first skip. I can't
How
get
ironic.
over.
Right?
Right?
I was wondering how he was going to vote on this song. I really was.
I can't get over. I can't get past the little weird, Revolution 9 style talking at the beginning and at the end of this track. The track itself is okay. I don't think it's the best thing on the album. So this is I skip this. Andy, what say you?
I skip it too. It's got a halfway decent chorus, but other than that, there's too much going. I don't like the beginning of it with the spoken word stuff. Right. I don't like it. So that's an automatic skip on mine.
Okay. I like the darkness of after the spoken word, like the horn, the keyboard horns. But
anyway, skip or play, David.
Out.
Okay.
You could definitely cut the intro out. That's just like feels like something from, give my regards to Broad Street.
All right, moving on. Track 4, Footprints. This is one of my favorite songs from this album. I love it. I love the Spanish feel to it, the Spanish guitar feel to it. Love the lyrics. I love the, he likes it in the snow part. I just love that part.
Jerry Marotta.
Yeah, Jerry Marotta. There you go.
Yeah.
I play Footprints like a mother. I love Footprints. Andy?
Again, this falls into the Good Times Come and Feel the Sun category. Used to skip for a long, long time. I no longer do. Nice ballad. Really? Yeah, again, took a long, long time to warm up to it though, for sure, like years. But it's grown on me. So this is no longer a skip. I enjoy it. Again, the guitar playing, it's in a good little ballad. That just kind of just flies under the radar on the whole album, really.
It does, and then that's not I think it's not really until you've played the album, several times that where you really come to
where you come back, because there's so many other songs that you jump out to before that one.
Right.
But no, that's I used to skip, but no longer do.
Cool.
I play it.
Cool. Nice, David.
His vocals still run me the wrong way, but musically,
I think it's a great vocal from him.
Yeah,
agreed.
Right,
I'll keep it because let's keep it.
All right, very good. Good choice. Track 5, the track that ends side 1, Only Love Remains. Andy, what are you doing?
Play it on repeat.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. For me, I think this is
no-brainer.
Yeah, this is, I think, one of his best ballads out there. I play Only Love Remains.
Yeah, the live versions that are out there that he did, it's obviously he felt strongly enough about it to play it live.
Right.
In '86 there a little bit too to promote it, even though it didn't really do well. But again, this just checks the box on classic ballad McCartney, so that is a automatic play.
Cool. All right, David.
Yeah, it's like up there with, Beautiful Night and Once Upon a Long, all that ballad-esque kind of epic kind of piano ballad. I mean, I had a loss of words. It's a great song.
All right, so you play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay, we're flipping this bad boy over.
I mean, Tom, what would you have said? I've said this song blows, and you guys are like, "All right, we're stopping this interview."
I'll be like, "Okay, it was good seeing you, buddy."
Yeah. See, we're the two others. Nope, no.
Right.
See.
Right. All right, so we're gonna turn this baby over. We're gonna go side 2. We're gonna start with Press, which is the lead-off single. I think this was one of his best lead-off singles in my opinion. I love the song, love the video, and I always play Press. David, what do you say? I know you know the song well, so you don't need too much time to listen to it.
Oh, I mean, watching a lot on the McCartney Years DVD, him on the bus or the train, the subway. Yeah.
The two.
No, this is a great song.
All right, so you're playing it.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy.
Absolutely playing it. Yeah. Great melody, great production. As David said, great video. So, it's chock full of that Hugh Padgham gated drum stuff, but I still love it anyway, and it's one of his best songs. Great songs. That's a play it.
Yes. Very good. Okay, this is where the album gets really dicey for me.
Yeah.
Pretty Little Head. Now, unfortunately, this version I skip. However, if the single was on the album, I would
Bingo.
Play. Yes.
Bingo.
So that version, the version on the album, I skip.
Yeah, I'm with you, partner. That is a skip track because I don't know why he decided to remix it and then have his nice isolated vocal, which sounds great.
Exactly.
You can hear him. You can hear him clearly. It's a great great melody, and you can hear him clearly singing on the 7-inch or the 12-inch remix. Right. And then he puts this album track on, and his voice is just buried in there and drenched in echo, and it sounds like crap. So this version, the album version, I'm skipping. But if I could replace it, well, you heard me the other night when we were on our call. I was playing the remix.
Yeah, right. That's right.
So this on the album itself is a skip.
Right. Yeah. David?
Musically, yeah, it's I like kind of like the xylophone. It's not my go-to track, and I could see how it would work as like actually an extended long play for like a club back in that day, and I'd keep it just to go against
Okay, moving on. Move Over Buster. Again, it's there's times where I'm in the mood for it, but most of the time I skip this one. The lyrics are all over the place. Don't really care for it that much, and I've listened to this song many times, but as much as I've tried to get into this one is 95% of the time a skip, so I'm just going to go with skip. And Andy, what say you?
This is a play it. This is a play it. Listen, what better can you get than when I saw Mae West in a sweaty vest and I said, I'll come and see you sometime.
Right.
Listen, lyrically it's a jumble. I agree with you. I just like the energy on this track. I like how it opens up. It's again, and I'm going to harken back to what I said about a couple of the other songs. It was a skip song back in the day for me, but that over time has grown on me. It's like some of the other songs on this album. So gotcha. I much enjoy, this is a play it track for me. Production on it too, and it's got a lot of that kind of shouting chorus stuff going on it now. I thoroughly enjoy Move Over Busker now. So play it.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, David.
It can be a grower. It's definitely not a shower of a song. So I think I keep it and try to live with it. And it's catchy, but I'll keep it.
Okay, excellent. All right, moving on. Angry.
think we're going to be unanimous on this one. I think.
Mm?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe. Okay. Listen. I'm still up in the air about this one. I have mixed feelings about it. Right now, I play it. However, that being said, when you know who's on this track, you know it's Phil Collins, Pete Townsend, McCartney. You know who's on this track.
Good
and
point.
This is what they come up with.
Yeah.
For that reason, it's kind of a letdown. But because it's those three, I play it. David?
Paul's on bass on this track, right?
I believe so, yes.
You can hear like Motown influence right off the bat, the first 2 seconds. So right there, that grabs my attention. I didn't realize the history of this song. So Townsend and Collins on this
Collins
song.
on it, and then now McCartney, was influenced from, articles in the newspaper, writings about him, and he angry about it. Look, it's one of the very small handful of rockers that he does in the 80s.
Yeah, it's a rarity. Nah, let's skip it.
Okay. Very good. Andy?
Skipping it.
Okay. Final track on the LP version, However Absurd. It's a track that I come to appreciate just a touch more, but I'm skipping this one. It's not a favorite, but if from time to time I'll play it. But if I'm listening to this album, by this point in time, I'm ready to move on from this album. And
he burned out by this point.
Yeah, but so I skipped this song. Andy?
I play it only because after the horrors of Angry, nothing could be as bad as that. And that's kind of that's on that merit. I play it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I like it. It's not a bad song. It's
I think it's Lennon-esque in a way.
Very Lennon-esque.
Very like Lennon rock and roll-esque.
No, Lennon ballad.
I think it's Lennon Beatle-esque. How about that?
Well, I meant like the album rock and roll, or like mid-70s Lennon-ish.
No, I'm thinking more.
It just opens up with that like nice crashing piano sound. Then after Angry, it's like, oh, this actually sounds somewhat interesting.
Right.
And that's why I play it.
Yeah. David, skip or play, buddy?
I it's too bombastic with the 80s production at the end. Let's skip it.
Okay.
Because I know there's 5 other tracks on this.
That's the album closer, right?
That's the album. The
main
closer. That's the LP closer. Now on the CD, you've got the 86 CD, I should say. You've got the 3 B-sides. You got the Right Away. You got It's Not True, and you got Tough on a Tightrope. And just to shorten things up, I play all of those.
You do play all 3 of those.
I play all of them. I would so much prefer, this album would have been so much better if those 3 tracks replaced a couple
other ones. I agree with that. I'll say that I play all 3 also. Again, I kind of link up Tough on a Tightrope with Pretty Little Head in terms of the single versions, the extended version of Tough on a Tightrope, the 12-inch one, single, way better than the one that closes the album.
Gotcha.
In my opinion. Okay. But yeah, I would, those 3 bonus tracks, if they were on the main album, makes this album even better.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. Well, out of those 3, Right Away maybe might be the least one.
Right Away is my favorite of the 3.
Right Away is?
Yeah.
So then It's Not True, or if Tough on a... Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But generally you'll play them.
Right. Yeah. Actually, the way they are, the order that they're in is how I consider them favorite to least favorite.
Oh, agreed.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, exactly. So I play all 3. David, I don't know how familiar you are with these 3 tracks. So I don't know if you play or skip.
I'd play Right Away, and maybe the other 2 are kind of like, Are we going into the 93 version at all?
No, we're not. This is it.
Oh, well, I'm going to say Once Upon a Long Ago would have been helpful on this album somewhere. I mean, just...
it came out, I mean, it was
after.
After
the fact.
So I would say if you took like the first 5 or 6 songs of Flowers in the Dirt and like the best of this album and combine them, I think you would have a really solid mid to late 80s album. I mean, Did he leave Columbia around that time? Was he back with?
No, Columbia was 79. I think he signed with Columbia after.
So when he left, Columbia Press to Play was the first new deal back with EMI.
EMI,
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, okay, cool. That's Skipper Play. Maybe we'll continue this off into the future. Let's wrap things up. David, thank you for being here. Thank you for starting this with me. Andy, thank you for continuing this with me. I really appreciate.
Thank you, Andy, for keeping him happy.
Listen, I'm happy to be aboard. And thank you guys for starting something, and then that we can continue on. You know, without you guys starting it up, I'm not sitting here. So
right. Maybe in the future I'll talk about how Talk More Talk sprouted from Two Legs. But anyways, you know, thank a couple people. I mentioned Dylan. Again, I want to just acknowledge Dylan. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your schedule to put the songs that you did for this show.
Thank you, Dylan.
I really appreciate it.
You're the man.
Yeah. Two people that like I said, when David was putting posting the show on that MACA forum, two people were very vocal from the get-go, and that's Don Maley and Edward Crawford. Both of you guys, as I try not to get too emotional, I've come to know both of you very well on a personal level. I got to meet Don. He flew down here and we saw McCartney together 2 years ago in 18, and that was special. Edward, I talked to a lot, and he's a big bootleg guy like you guys, so he sent me some bootleg stuff. He sent me the Return to Pepperland bootleg, Cold Cuts bootlegs as well. So I want to thank him. You guys, talking with you and getting to know you guys has been a joy, and thank you for all your output, and just thank you for being friends. I remember when I was part of the Las Vegas shooting that happened a few years back, and those two were like
that was the McCartney night for me in Detroit. So coming home, or I woke up the next morning and I'm like, oh, and I know I couldn't imagine. I know we did our show not long after that, but I couldn't imagine what you were going through at that time. I mean, psychologically.
Yeah, I mean,
glad you're here.
I mean, it was a tough night. Something I hope I don't have to ever relive again. But those two were two of the first people that reached out to me to see how I was doing, and I'll never forget that. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. So
thank you guys for that. Thank you.
So that's it. That's 100 episodes of Two Legs, and we hope, like I said, hopefully we'll continue to grow, continue to get great guests that have great stories about McCartney, and Andy and I will continue to hopefully grow as hosts, and we'll just keep getting better and better. And David, we'll love to have you back on from time to time again. Just tell your wife to keep sending me those pictures of
God.
Anyways, thank you, everybody. As everybody knows, we're now on Fab4 Radio, so you can check us out on there. I think we're on the weekends at 8 p.m. Central Times. YouTube channel, check us out, please. Our YouTube channel, Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast. Please check that out and subscribe. That's where you're going to see all our wonderful faces, and you'll see David for the first time, or second time actually. Andy's been working hard to get us all on all these new platforms. We're on Spotify now. He's getting us on Amazon, who's now getting into the podcasting game. He's got us on iTunes. He's got us on iHeartRadio, Google Chrome, Amazon Kindle, you name it. We're on it. And are we on Pandora now? Are we officially on Pandora?
I'm still waiting for official notification. I submitted the request to be on there, so if we're not on there, we will be very soon.
Okay. So great. Yeah. So we're everywhere. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Two Legs Podcast. You can email us at twolegspodcast@gmail.com. Everybody, thank you so much. We love your comments. We love that you listen to us or you watch us and you reach out to us and let us know how we're doing. Thank you so much. We really look forward to those. And if we suck, please let us know. I mean, constructive criticism is great. I'm all for it. I learned about that a long time ago, so I got thick skin. Don't worry about it. If you think we suck, I don't care. But anyways, as always, everybody out there, have a great day. Have a beautiful night. David, Andy, thank you. Take care.
Listening to Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, hosted by Tom Hunyadi and Andy Nicholes, with musical contributions by Dylan